I am here with David Piatek, and we are going to be talking about VA home loans and VA compensation. Compensation. What's going on, David? It's a
Oh man,
composition.
just enjoying the warm weather. I'm actually in South Carolina, so now I know what it's like to live in Florida. I mean, you guys got it probably pretty warmer, but definitely much better than snow in Chicago. So definitely loving
Uh,
it.
okay, Dave. Hold on. Let's back up. You said definitely know what it's like living in Florida. We had I think it was like 92 the
Okay.
other day when I got in my truck.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely jealous of that. So welcome everyone. Please drop a comment. Where are you from? Thanks for
Yeah.
joining us tonight. And any questions you guys have, I know there's a lot of things, Dwayne, going on. When it's almost like what's not going on right now. So we're gonna cover a couple of those things today.
Yeah. I know 2025, man, it January 20th came and man, we have been like you said, a lot of things going on. But surprisingly, Dave, it seemed like I don't want to say everything is settled down, but opposed to let's say like the end of February, 1st of March, I think things are kind of like not the dust selling, but it's like, you're in the ocean and you've been sinking and now you're coming up for air and you can see the sunlight and you're like, take a quick breath of air. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it's kind
Yeah.
of been crazy, especially today with the announcement. The tariffs went out and then they paused them. So let me touch a little bit on kind of what's been going on from a housing market perspective, because a lot of people have been on the sidelines, kind of trying to see what's going on. So if you guys, I'm sure everybody's aware of it because literally like everything you turn to in the news is talking about it. Is that tariffs were announced, officially happening last week. They went into effect today, and then they suspended the tariffs. So markets obviously have taken huge shifts in that. And stock market went down, mortgage rates went down for a hot second, and then all of a sudden they kind of skyrocketed back up. So for a lot of people that are out there, please make sure that don't. I would say this is like my own personal reference here is that a lot of people, if they panicked, they sold, they most likely lost out because a lot of the markets recovered. And it's normally takes time for things like this, like right now, to play out. And I just actually recorded a video today. I'm going to release it here next day or two. There's a affordability across the country. 92 out of the 100 major markets in the United States have seen greater affordability because home prices have softened. That's what they call it, because home values dropped a little bit and interest rates went down, right, compared to last year. So we see more affordability across the country, which is a very positive thing for people out there. And on top of all that, last month, almost 40,000 VA home loans were originated. So people are out there buying, refinancing, doing
Wow.
cash out refinances, or doing interest rate reductions. And there's over 5 million people in the US that bought a home between 2022 and 2025 that have rates over 7%. So make sure you guys are tracking what's going on with the market, because I think in the next like 2-3 weeks or a month from now, we're going to start seeing adjustments in the interest rates to be more favorable for people to take advantage of actually saving on a monthly basis on their mortgage. So if you guys have questions, in the description is a way to contact me or check out the channel VA Housing Education. That way you can kind of stay up to date on what's happening, because it's not always the right time. And when the right time does emerge, sometimes, Dwayne, it's short windows. And like I'm always
Yeah.
saying too, is that VA home loans typically get better over time. VA disability, if you're not filing as like as you're doing it, I know you can speak to that a little bit more, but yeah, man, it's just a lot of moving pieces that are going on right now.
Yeah. I tell Dave, before I go get into that, what was that number again? You said how many VA home loans that were
Almost
processed?
40,000 last month.
Man, and that's just VA home loans. So that means just veterans.
Just
That's a
veterans, yeah.
lot.
That is a crazy amount. Yeah. So
So
it was 39,648 to be exact. I'm looking at it. So It was like 24,500 veterans used the VA loan to actually buy a home. 66,690 veterans utilized their home and pulled equity out of it so they can, do whatever, maybe repairs or anything else that they want to do. And 8,158 veterans utilized getting lower interest rates. That's huge.
Wow. Yeah, that is. But before that, I was thinking, when you were talking about the different changes when the VA and, veterans, you start a claim, you got to stay with it. And that's the one thing that I tell veterans. Once you jump off the porch with this VA compensation, you have to stay with it. I know some veterans, they get
Oh yeah.
stressed out and they have to take a step back. And, I'm like, there's going to be some pauses, like an army. They hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait. You get deployed, they get you up at 2 o'clock in the morning, you get to the unit, you get your weapon, formation, and then you wait. It's like they'll do something, they'll take a step forward. We got to wait 3 hours. Take another step forward. Got to wait 3 hours. So it's like the VA. And so during that pause, then that's when you take a stress break. You're kind of like, you know, calm down a little bit, make sure you're looking over all your information. So when it comes time to make that next step, you're prepared. This is the month that the proposed changes, I want to say from 2, 3 years ago, for the removal of the tinnitus, removal of the 50% for sleep apnea, and the changes in the general rating criteria were supposed to go into effect. And I did a
Wow.
video back in December, and I'm like, hey, if you're trying to get tinnitus at the 10%, you're trying to get 50% for sleep apnea, you're trying to get service connected for a mental condition or increase, now is the time to be working those claims. You cannot wait. You have to get in, stay in, and especially get grandfathered in. And people say, well, Dwayne, when these changes go into effect, how are they going to affect people? They don't know. The VA hasn't told anybody. That's like me asking somebody, say, hey, on May 20th, what is the interest rates going to look like for veterans? Nobody knows, right?
You can't
You know,
tell.
but you want to start doing things now with your credit score, just, whether it be saving money, trying to get your credit score up. So if the rates are favorable, May 20th or whenever, and you want to punch that ticket to, buy a home, then you can do it.
Right. No, 100% agree with that. And that's kind of the mentality of the longer you wait, again, things, well, like what are you waiting for? If you could do it today, you should take advantage of that. And that's like, if I can go back in time and said, well, I should have bought a home in, you know 2004, and then I would have all this equity in my property. Or, if I filed my disability. And Dwayne, I talked to a lot of veterans that obviously reach out from watching these videos, and they're like, he's like, I waited 30 years to file my claim, and I finally claimed it, and I'm at 100% PNT. And he's like, I wish I would have just went in and did the research. And that's what we're providing to everyone out there, is that we are providing the information, the experience, so then you can go out and do these things, right? Because that's how I came across your channel,
Yep.
researching VA disability. Again, a lot of people that still ask me, and I'm always like, hey, check out the resources that we partner with. That way, you're not going to be lost in the sauce, because still people just wing it, right? They're just like, oh, I'm just going to do it on my own. And I'm like, hey, did you do this, and this? And they're like, no, I didn't even do that. And it's the same thing with home ownership, is that people just jump into the water instead of saying, well, let me first make sure that what I'm trying to do makes sense. Is it financially smart to do that? And I'll tell
Mhm.
you, looking through a list of the originations that happen, I know that some of these companies do charge veterans a significant amount of money to use their benefits when they don't have to do that, right? The same thing in the VA claim side, because I think what do you, Dwayne? Do you always tell people they need an attorney? So just be careful with that, because you really don't need to. Because they would do attorneys help you in the VA disability process?
It depends on. I think it depends on the law firm. I remember when I was a rater and I did a RVSR hearing. And I need to do another video on that because the video I did on RVSR hearing is like over 3 years old. So I don't know if I can say, hey, I got a video on that, but I do actually. And a lawyer came in, and what was so scary about this, I was just talking. I was like, hey, in the 38 CFR, the CFR. And he was like, hey, Dwayne, can you press pause for a minute? I'm like, yeah, what's up? You keep saying CFR. What does that stand for? And I was like, okay, wait a minute. Maybe somebody within the VA management or something is playing a trick on me just to see what kind of response, I'm gonna come with. And it was just, I was like, whoa. But the thing that veterans have to really, and you're right, David, veterans have to be careful because now it's a lot of information out there. And I've always told people this is something that you can do on your own. I would love to work with you, educate you, but when veterans ask me certain questions, and I'm like, look, don't even schedule a one-on-one with me, a private Q&A. Watch my video on this, and this. A couple of videos, right? And if you
Yep.
still got questions, then come. But other than that, the information's out there on my YouTube channel for free. Leverage it. I know to answer your questions, but if for some reason you're still stuck, you want to come and talk to me, then that's different, But there's, I have over 600 videos. I'm thinking, when did I ever find the time to record 600 videos on a topic like VA compensation, right? So a lot of videos are old, but a lot of those videos are still relevant. You just gotta invest the time. And a lot of some, I don't want to say a lot, but some veterans do not want to invest that time. So when it comes to a lawyer or VSO, you have some really good ones, and then you have some really not so good ones. And I also tell veterans, if you're signing something with a private company, make sure you read it. It's sort of like going to closing, right? Man, you signing so many. It's like you going in the military for the first time. You signing so much paperwork, you get corporal tunnel in your hand because you're initialing all those documents.
Well, yeah, I don't. I think when I enlisted, I didn't even read the documents. I'm just like, all right, let's just do this. And so,
Yeah,
but that could be a bad thing. And to your point, Dwayne, like, yeah, double checking everything that you're signing. And it's the same thing right now with if you guys are not tracking. There's been new changes to real estate. So even right now, I have veterans that are like, why is my realtor making me sign a contract before I even start looking at homes? And that's because the National Association of Realtors and top like five real estate brokerages had a lawsuit, and now they have all these additional requirements, which you could be in a position where you may have to pay more money now to buy a home, especially in very competitive markets. But like that's just knowing the baseline of that. And to your point too, Dwayne, it's like we do a ton of videos that cover a lot of topics because you have what you said over 600 videos.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. I think I have a little bit over 200 videos just talking about VA home loans because there's so many components to that. And sometimes, well, like, for the VA disability process, you could do it yourself. But from the home lending side, you do have to go through a lender to
Right.
actually utilize that loan because the VA doesn't originate mortgages unless it's the NATO program. For everyone that's being real technical, that's the Native American Direct Loan Program. But I don't
Mhm.
even know what's going on with that program because they haven't made some announcements recently that they were supposed to. And I do want to let everybody know of one major change for veterans with their home loans is that if there's like over 40,000 veterans that faced foreclosure because, like, back during COVID, they had this. The VA basically put this program together where veterans could defer their payments and then basically tagged on to the end of the mortgage. And then after they get out of this program, it was supposed to like re-amortize and change their mortgage payments. Well, what ended up happening, Dwayne and everyone out there, is they totally kiboshed it. And then they said, hey, at the end of these 12 months, you have to pay all this money up front, which obviously the veterans didn't have. So then that kind of led them through this
Oh,
foreclosure process. And then the VA stepped in last year and said, look, we're going to help these veterans. We're going to help service them. We're going to give them a certain interest rate. And then, like last week, they said, just kidding. May 1st, this program ends. We don't want to, we're not in the business of servicing loans. And that's something I actually talked about, was it last year? saying that like
Yep.
this odd that they're doing this because they're not in the servicing game now. They haven't come out with any type of replacement program. So I would say that for any veteran out there that is facing financial hardship with their mortgage payments, or knows someone that is going through a foreclosure, make sure that you reach out to the VA. I know that there's different things you can do, potentially other than the VAST program, like loan modifications, but just know how it works. And that way you can position yourself so you don't lose your home. And, sometimes, people reach out and we talk with them about, what are their options. And again, we can happy to always jump on a call because if you don't do this every day, it's definitely confusing, but at least being pointed in the right direction or walking through some options that works. Because I mean, even doing when you were looking at HELOCs, you were like, "Hey, David, can you take a look at this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, this is the better option, and this is why." So at least you know what's going on.
Right. Right. So hey, let's get into some of these questions, David.
Yeah,
And we
sure.
got Twisted in the house. You know who Twisted?
I saw that.
You
He
know
was
who
with us,
Twisted?
wasn't he on there for like the whole 12 hours that we did a live event?
And he was the last question. He's like, all right, I'm sorry, guys. I had some contractors in the house.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's start from the top. So someone asking how to access the gold membership area. So I think that's on
Yes.
your channel.
Yeah. So I put a link to that in the comment section, Juro. So you click there and you go ahead and get signed up.
That's awesome. This one's for you as well.
Watching for Albuquerque, got denied today for HLR. Wow, sorry to hear that. 8 months only to get denied. I won't give up though. And this is another thing that I talk about, David, is I did a video and I talked about, hey, when you get denied, they have options for you in the notification letter. Okay, it's 3 options. And one of those obviously is a high level review. Fill out the 0996 and you submit for that high level review. On that form, it asks you if you want to do an informal conference. You check yes. And I did a video, it was over a year old. I want to say it was maybe like last February, but how to schedule your informal conference. Talking to an individual, he submitted his 0996 like the week prior. He watched that video, scheduled his higher level review the next day, and received a rating over the weekend. So that's what I'm
Wow.
saying. Veterans, when you want an informal conference, you don't have to wait. You go to the VA's website and you can I like how you say it, literally say it, schedule it the next day. So these are little things that you need to know. So you're not waiting 8 months. But even before that, I've done videos where I'm talking about just recent one. I was like, stop, avoid these mistakes before you file an HLR. You know,
Right.
what things that you need to be doing from a veteran standpoint to be prepared.
100%. All right. Now we got Twisted in the house. Welcome back. Hey, fellas. I hope
Yeah.
you guys are doing well. Mr. Busy helping out the in laws. Awesome.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Oh,
Father-in-law has
oh,
cancer.
father-in-law, I was gonna say. Yeah, sorry to hear
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
And he's
So
got his
good.
question here.
Looking into NA, but the doc has to fill out. My VA doc says she is unwilling to do paperwork because it takes time away from the other vets she has throughout the day. What are my options? One, the first thing you have to understand the criteria for SMCL. Make sure that's A in attendance, ANA, A in attendance. And you have to make sure that you meet the criteria and all the conditions you're claiming ANA for have to be service connected and you have to meet that criteria. And that form is actually only 2 pages long. If your VA doctor won't fill out, you're going to have to either go to a CMP exam or have a private examiner to complete it. Those are your options.
Awesome. We got someone. Oh my God, I finally caught a live. So thank you for that. I know we've
Oh
talked to
yeah.
a lot of people with that. From Tampa, but resides in DC. So awesome. Welcome. We
Okay.
have Eve Let's Life. Hello. Thank you. Welcome
Yeah.
from Texas. Awesome. Well, thank you, Betty, for following us.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. We got James from Raleigh, North Carolina. Welcome. From Northwest Louisiana. That's what I'm
What is
talking
that?
about.
Shreveport. Shreveport. Is that Shreveport? Maybe.
I'm not sure. Let
Yeah,
us know,
Northwest
Jimmy. Yeah.
Louisiana.
This is one's for you, Dwayne.
Yeah. Is it good to file for PTSD, anxiety, depression all at once? I know it would be lumped in one. Yes, but this is the thing. You can do that, but you got to ask yourself the question: those three different diagnoses, where do they fall under the 5 ways of service connection? And specifically for PTSD, do you have a stressor? And can that stressor be confirmed? It's not what we say, it's what we can prove.
Awesome. This one's for you.
I was just scheduled for a CMP exam 65 miles away. I called QTC to reschedule for a closer location. They said I'll be listed as that is correct. They have been doing that. I don't know why these third-party contractors cannot get someone that's closer. Now, I do understand some veterans are in remote areas, but if you do not go to that CMP exam, they will schedule you as a no-show. Now, if you got off the phone and told them that they will call you back, what I've been hearing when veterans called them back 2 or 3 days later, they said, "Hey, we've already closed out everything." So you need to call the VA at 800-827-1000 and say, "Hey, I need to reschedule with QTC because it's 65 miles away." And I called them back and they closed everything out. Do not move forward. Please reschedule. So what should happen when that notice comes back to the regional office, that VSR should say, "Oh, wait a minute. The veteran was a no-show, but the veteran did call in and give us the reasons why. Let's go ahead and reschedule this." Hopefully they do, but it's a new age of VA employees. And, even if they deny it as a no-show, you can, in the letter, they'll say, "Well, hey, when you're ready to appear, call us." And the veteran has already done that. And you're like, what are you talking about? I did call, So not only did the VSR get it wrong, the RVSR. So with all that being said, 65 miles away, try to make the appointment. And I need to find out if you're going 65 miles away, will the VA pay for travel? I think that they will. I know some of the travel guidelines have changed, not in favor of the veteran that's
Right.
driving that far, because I know when I go to my outpatient clinic, it's literally like, I want to say 8 miles away. But if I have to go to the main hospital, then I'm probably like 30 miles away. But when I go to the main hospital, they're only going to pay me the distance to the local outpatient, which is only 8 miles away. I'm like, and then I
Always
didn't see it
steaming.
anywhere. It's on the VHA side.
Awesome. And he did have a follow-up question. I called the V and they submitted a request for another exam. Will this make my claim drag on?
Yes, could. It could, because like I just said, it could come from QTC. It gets back to the regional office. They look at it. The veteran, yep, called in, and then they send it back to QTC. And or they could send it to somebody else. It could go to somebody else. And don't be surprised if it goes back to QTC. They may schedule it with somebody right around the corner from your house. And you're like, why couldn't they do that the first time? Just the VA. Nothing's perfect.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Ray listening from Valley of Texas, the Mexican border. Welcome.
Whoa, yeah.
Uh, Dwayne, you got a
Hey,
new member?
yeah, a new member. Welcome, Will Pond. Thank you for being a member.
Awesome. Next one. I just used my VA loan to buy a home. It was an easy process. I'm 100%, so I didn't have to pay the VA funding fee. So yeah, so one of the big benefits, well, actually, let me take a step back. So a lot of veterans still don't realize that they could become homeowners with just 100% VA disability. In fact, VA disability compensation will be used towards your income once you're awarded it. There's no minimum time frame that you have to have been receiving that money in order for a lender to use it. So that's a big plus. And if you have a 10% or greater VA disability rating, then you don't have to pay what's called that VA funding fee. So this fee is charged to veterans that use their VA loan. It's the only fee on a purchase that can be rolled into the loan itself. So that's why sometimes veterans are like, "Hey, I'm buying a place for 300,000. Why is my loan amount like 312,000?" Well, that's because the VA funding fee was rolled into the mortgage. Now you do have the option of actually paying for that out of the closing, but most veterans will just roll it into the VA. And that's one of the things that, talking about VA disability. So let's say you're buying a house next month and you file your intent to file before the closing of the home. All right. So fast forward 9, 10 months go by, you've already bought your home, and then you file your disability. And then another year passes by. So now we're a year and 10 months out. You've already owned your home, and you get your VA disability awarded back to your file date. What you can do then is you can contact the VA that say, "Look, my disability is prior to me closing on my VA home loan." And then they will review it to refund the VA funding fee. So they literally send you a check in the mail, and we can split it. Doesn't make a difference, however you want to dice it, but you can keep that money and do whatever you want with that money. So just kind of keep that in mind. I would make sense to pay down the mortgage with that, so that way you're not paying interest on that money. And plus, you do the more principal payments you make, the faster you pay off your mortgage. So that's another way that you can save. And some people will look at their VA disability in different ways when it comes to home ownership. For some people, they'll use their VA disability as, "Hey, this is the max I want my mortgage payment to be, because at least I'm safe, right? Hey, if something were to happen, at least I know I can make my mortgage payment and keep my home." And for others, when they get certain ratings, depending on where they live, and I have a whole video on how to research the areas that you want to live, because you do have to do the work manually, because depending on your VA disability rating, you could get a property tax break, which can be pretty significant. And I know we use Florida as a good example because different counties let you do
Yeah.
different things. Because in that same example that I said that, hey, you bought the home, basically 2 years later, it gets backdated. You can actually go to assessor's office, some of them, and do what's called a certificate of error. So they'll actually go back those 2 years and refund you those taxes.
Yeah.
Again, that is huge for the veteran community, and it's one of the reasons that you can benefit from the disability rating.
Right, right. I don't know if you could answer this question, Dave, but I was watching I don't know if it was an actual YouTube video or a commercial. And you talked about two things, going back to like the intent. So, if you win that claim, obviously you're going to get a retro. Then you say, hey, you can get that money funding fee refunded. That could be a lot of cash. Um, and I also know you had talked about, in the past where you talked about, hey, when you talk about doing a refi, you could say, you always, what do you say? When you don't need the money, it's hard to get. But when you
Well,
need the money, it's hard to get. But when you don't need it, it's not hard to get, to go ahead and get it and keep it there. Is there, and I don't know if you can answer this question, but is there a formula instead of taking, if I got like 50 grand, the back pay and then the funding fee, refunded. When you say buying down the principal, is there a formula that I could use that I could pay on the principal, like on the 15th of every month to lower that
yep.
down? Is that something you can answer or?
Yeah, so basically, it's if you want to figure and see, this is going to be different for everyone because everyone's interest rates are different, how long they've had the mortgage is different. So you can go in almost any search engine, you could type in, how was, basically you're looking at an accelerated amortization schedule. That's
Okay.
technically what it is, because you are looking the amortization schedule. Like if you've bought a home before, they'll give you like 30 pages of like every single month how much your payment is,
Yeah.
principal and interest, principal and interest. That's an amortization schedule. So when you make extra payments, you're actually accelerating how much, or you're actually decreasing how much interest you're being charged because it's a lower balance the interest is being charged on. That's why I also say don't wait till the end of the year to make an extra payment. The sooner the better, because you want to pay the least amount of interest as soon as humanly possible. So you want to make
Mm.
early payments. And another strategy actually is if you don't have to pay property taxes, pretend that you do have to pay property taxes and pay off the principal balance of your mortgage every month. And again, the sooner you pay off your mortgage, the less interest you're going to be paying. So, huge benefit for the veterans that are out there. So, it's
Oh,
again another strategy that you can use for this process.
okay. All right. Let's keep it going.
All right, next one is for you.
If you have an intent to file but are not officially diagnosed until a month before the CMP exam, will your start date be the intent to file or the date of the diagnosis? It's going to depend. Good question. And I have a video on effective dates, and they can be tricky. So you're going to have the intent to file. You're going to have dates, facts found, and data claim, DLC. So it is going to depend. If it's a cancer, it's going to go from the date facts found. So, for example, I was doing a video, recording video today of how the VA rates cancers. I was talking about prostate cancer. So you need a biopsy to confirm a diagnosis of prostate cancer. So if you have an intent to file, um, 2024 and the biopsy is 2025, more than likely they're going to use date facts found of the biopsy. So it's going to depend on the diagnosis, but that just gives you an example.
This one has nothing to do with the stream, but I liked it. Dude looks like he has a mohawk with the placement of the video. So that's above my head right here. Trust
Oh,
me, no mohawk's going to happen here, people. I saw
I
that.
didn't
I
even
was like,
notice
okay.
that.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. Betty, good evening, gentlemen.
Good
Good
evening.
evening. Thank you for
Yeah.
joining us. All right. This one's for you.
Been fighting my claim since June 2024. Submitted a supplemental claim January 5th. Still nothing. This is what I've been telling people. Veterans think, oh, I've been waiting 4 months for my claim. That is a long time. That is not a long time. I went through this process over 10 years ago. When I first started rating, I was seeing average wait times were anywhere between 12 to 18 months. And sometimes that was 12 to 18 months just to get a CMP exam. So the VA has come a long way, but they still got a long way to go. Any federal agency does not move fast. The military, hurry up and wait. We just talked about it. Hurry up and wait. They don't move fast unless you're in special operations. And man, you can be anywhere in part of the world. They put you on the C5 Hercules or C-17. You be in a part of the world in like 8-10 hours. But that's extreme circumstances. But this VA process, sometimes it moves fast, sometimes it doesn't. But I tell veterans, hey, how much evidence did you submit? Are you submitting multiple claims at different times? It's little things that could prolong your claim. Not saying that the wealthy trader that you did that, but that's the way you can use the intent to file to your advantage. Once you submit it, you got 365 days to go out and get all the evidence that you need.
All right. This one's for you.
When submitting FDC, fully developed claim is what that stands for. Do I need to submit all evidence at once, or am I able to add more evidence after submissions? Thank you, David Dwayne. Okay, so I can tell when somebody has been following me on YouTube and they have not, because guess what? I got a video on that explaining what fully developed claims are versus standard claims, and where can you find this information? In the first 7 pages of the 526CZ application. It's like 13 pages long. The first 7 to 8 pages are instructions. A fully developed claim, and this is I want everybody to hear me. This is the fully developed claim. You're telling the VA, when you check that box, I have nothing else to submit. Go ahead and move forward with my claim. Now, if you check that box and you submit everything and something comes along later, can you submit it? Yes. But you have to know these little things. You got to have to read those instructions and a lot of people don't read those instructions. It's only 7 pages, and the VA is providing a lot of information.
For sure. We got another one for you here.
Thanks for that donation. What is the form or process to backdate a current 2024 claim back to 2018 that never had due process with a CMP exam? Good question. If you did not have due process and your due process was violated, that falls under a possible CUE. Guess what? I just did a video on CUEs just this year, and I have an older one. Same information. It is up to the veteran to ensure that concern rises to the level of a CUE. And the good thing about it, he's talking about 6 years? A CUE never expires.
Oh,
I called a CUE for a veteran one time and went back, I want to say like 20 plus years. So yeah, just make sure you have a copy of your claims folder, because they're going to be going back and looking with a fine tooth comb to see if there is in fact an error.
Awesome. This is like a little comment from someone a little bit earlier talking about that they went through a turn, or they were wow, I see I have an attorney. I thought that was the best route. I wish I found your channel before starting the process. And I'm assuming these attorneys have ironclad contracts.
Actually, and I haven't done a video on this because I had to do some more research and I don't understand it. In the M21-1, they have updated the reference as it pertains to attorney fees. And a lot of times veterans, they'll try to circumvent the system, and they'll know that they're going to do a high-level review, and the attorney files the high-level review, and they know they're going to win. They say, oh, I'm going to remove you as my attorney. That attorney still gets paid.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And then they'll go and get another attorney. And they win. And let's say there's, 50 grand. Where does that 50 grand go? Which attorney? And so for what I read, the veteran could be on the hook for some of that money. And that's why I haven't done a video on it, because I have to do a little bit more research and understand a little bit more. But I got the email last week. So veterans, when you get an attorney, just understand they get 20%. That's all that, the VA is going to pay them. But if you got 2 attorneys out there, now they're going to be fighting who gets what. And David, check this out. If one attorney doesn't get paid, the other attorney can do an appeal to the board. And this is where it gets dicey. Then the other attorney could be, the judge could say, okay, attorney number 2, you owe the first attorney firm this amount of money, and veteran, you owe that first attorney X amount of money.
Oh,
so
wow.
Be careful with that when you're switching. If it's just like DAV, VFW, one of those organizations, you don't have to worry about it because they don't get paid. Well, they do get paid. A lot of people don't think they get paid. They get a check every 2 weeks. They're not just doing it for free. Okay. They get grants and they ask for donations for veterans. Okay. But attorneys, claims agents, they are a little bit different. So when you switch into law firms and all that stuff, thinking you out of the woods, it could be, ordered to pay some money back to somebody. So be careful.
And this one's for you.
A recent download of 4138 had the signature block crossed out. I'll go through while we're having this conversation. Make sure when you get any VA document, you get it from the VA's website. Even on my website, I got a link, and that link is taking you back to the VA's website. I'm not housing any of those documents on my website.
Yeah. And all the information is publicly available, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
the VA,
Like,
back when I started working at the VA, their website wasn't as robust. They didn't have e-benefits. None of that stuff. Now they have a lot of information out there. And that's where we have to take the time, just like buying a house. You just don't unless you ride down the street and be like, oh, I like that house. Oh, by the way, it's for sale. Oh, good interest rates. Oh, I got good credit. Everything just aligns, right? And
Yeah,
you walk
that's
right in. It could happen, but it's a small percent that it does. You got to put a little bit of work in. You got to, if you get a realtor or if you walk around and find homes yourself, same thing with the VA process. You got to invest that time.
yeah, and same thing with on the VA side because the VA handbook and all that information is available on the VA's website as well. It's just really understanding it and interpreting it. That's really what kind of makes the big difference when doing this. So
Yeah.
someone mentioning the VA math is goofy. I think maybe talking about the VA disability because if you have a total of 10% ratings, you're not 100% disabled. They have their own math that goes with that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They do.
This
Dwayne,
one's
can
for
you
you.
do a step-by-step video on how to file secondaries, linking them on the VA's website? You file for secondaries, and it's all showing up as new instead of second. Okay, that's Claim Pacific. That is Claim Pacific, and I do stay away from those videos because one, it may not help the majority of veterans. But secondaries are simple. You need a diagnosis. The primary condition needs to be service-connected, and then you need a nexus. Now, you have to think about the service-connected disability, and are you claiming it due to that service-connected disability or the medications that you're taking for that particular disability? But there has to be a diagnosis. Simple as that.
Awesome. This is, I think, it's one of your reference. Sounds like that doctor is using the other vets as her excuse to get out of doing the paperwork.
They were talking about the gentleman that said A&A. That is actually
Oh, gotcha.
true. I did an annual physical, I want to say it was a couple of years back, and I just asked the examiner, I'm like, hey, do you all fill out DBQs? And if not, why? Oh, he said, oh, I can't fill it out for you. That's not what I asked. I'm just trying to get some information for you for one of my YouTube videos. And he explained it. He was like, they give us an hour to see each veteran. So I'm like, oh man, so if I'm only in here for 10 minutes, then we could take another 30 minutes and fill out that DBQ and be good, right? And he was like, no, that hour includes looking at, your paperwork before you call you back, when we call you back, and then if we have to do anything else, referrals, medication. He said, that's why when we're sitting here, I ask about your medications. Do you need a refill? Because we're trying to make sure we don't miss anything, because then we got to get on to the next vet. And I was like, oh, that's the way it works. And he's like, we have so many veterans, we have to see each day. I was like, wow. So I get it. I get it because I worked on that side, and it's not surprising. So if a veteran came in and needed a back DBQ completed, that DBQ is over 10 pages.
Oh, wow.
Okay. But some VA medical centers, David, have DBQ clinics. The Tampa, Florida VA has a DBQ clinic. You know when I found out about this? Years after working at the VA. I didn't even know it. I was like, what? Some guy came back and I was like, man, where you been? You been going all day? He's like, oh no, I was over the Tampa VA, man. They got a DBQ clinic. And I was like, what? I was like, wait a minute. He said, come on, I'll come to my desk and I'll pull up on the computer for you. And I looked and I was like, oh, and I did a video about it. And some people in my area say, Dwayne, I called. You're right. So that could be a good thing or a bad thing, but I know they were only doing up to 3 DBQs, and they were only doing DBQs. They weren't including the Nexus.
Awesome. This one is for you.
Yeah. Thanks for the donation. Grip today. Okay. Do I have a chance? File claim was denied. I stayed and kept my appointment. I'm reading it right. Appointments missed the 12-month mark. ED and filed a supplemental claim and was service connected with an effective date of supplemental claim. Oh yeah, once you go outside that 1 year, that intent to file is like it never happened. And here's a trick that I tell people, because sometimes we're filing multiple claims and we don't have all the evidence for all the conditions. Here's a nugget, a huge nugget. Let's say you have 5 conditions. And I think I was talking about this in a video I was shooting today. And you only have evidence for 1. Go ahead and file all 5. Go ahead and file all 5. Because you know more than likely those 4 are going to get denied, which is okay. So when you get that evidence is now what is called new and relevant. I'm sorry, that's what it used to be called. New and relevant. It used to be called new and material, but now that evidence that you're waiting on is new and relevant. And as long as you refile that claim for those 4 conditions that you were denied within 365 days and you get service connected, it has to go back to the original intent to file date.
Wow.
Boom. I would drop my mic, but this is a very expensive mic.
I got another question here. 74-year-old vet received TDIU last month. Is my TDU safe?
74-year-old vet received TDIU last month. Is my truth. Right now, I don't see why it wouldn't be. Obviously, vet, 74, more than likely not going back to work for any reason. So I don't see why not, unless some reason they changed the regulations on TDIU.
So this one's for you here.
Can you give some ways that I could get my non-combat stressor verified? What is the non-combat stressor? For example, if you saw somebody get hurt in a training accident, you need to fill out a 0781. What was the veteran's name? What was the unit? What was the month and year? Provide as much information as possible. Here's some easy stressors. You're in the Coast Guard during Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. I don't think it'll be too hard to confirm that stressor. We all know about Hurricane Katrina. So then the thing is, what do you have proving that put you there? You were in the Pentagon during 9/11. So if you saw someone get hurt, I had a claim I was working one time, a Marine veteran. I want to say he was stationed at 29 Palms, which is Southern California. He lived up in Northern California. He was driving home, came up on a accident, and it was several fatalities. He called the police. They showed up, and he went on about his way. So he started having nightmares about it. He submitted his leave form. Okay, because on that leave form, it shows where you're stationed and where you're going to be at, just in case they have to recall you, right? Or get a hold of you. And then he sent in the police report. He got a copy of the police report. So I did MapQuest and I looked at the dates that he was on. He said that he was going on leave, the dates of the police report, and it was on his pathway home. He confirmed this stressor for me. It took me like 5 minutes to piece it together, schedule a CMP exam. He got diagnosed with PTSD, came back, granted the benefit. Easy as that. That's a non-combat stressor.
This one's for you as well.
How many 38 CFR 3.400 did you see go through that was 20 years old? Thanks for that donation. I am so sorry. I had to look that 38 CFR up. I get asked this a lot, unless it's like 38 CFR 3.309, subpart A, subpart E, subpart F. One thing that they told us as raters, don't try and memorize every 38 CFR M21-1. It's too many of them. But know where to go and find them. So I'm going to answer this question, Dave, before we get off, because when you get a question, I am going to go and look for it. All right.
That's awesome. Twisted with another question.
On the VA 1000 line, I caught a RVSR on a Vera a couple of weeks ago, and I was told they do not do CMPs for ANA. It's up to VA doc. Nope, that's incorrect. Very seldom did I ever request ANA exam. Very seldom, because the veterans submitted their own. I think that's on 2680, I think, the aid and attendance form. And that made it easy. I would look at the previous rating code sheet. Yep, the vet meets the criteria. Look at the ANA form. Yep, and I could go ahead and grant it.
Awesome. Good question. I just switched from a conventional to a VA loan while refinancing and came down 1.65%. So yeah, so one of the things with the VA home loan is that if you have a non-VA loan right now, you have the ability to actually refinance it into a VA loan, because still, for whatever reason, a lot of veterans still get steered away from using the VA home loan, and it can be expensive if you don't have a VA disability rating. So make sure that you're paying attention and doing your homework with that. Another piece when it comes to doing a refinance from a conventional loan to a VA loan, it's actually considered a cash out refinance. So just be mindful, because the VA funding fee can be pretty significant on that. And a lot of veterans too get steered away from the VA loan on condominiums. And I did a whole video on how veterans can purchase basically any condo that exists across the United States with a condo waiver. So if, let's say, you have a conventional loan, you want to refinance into a VA loan, we can help you with the condo waiver and through that VA home loan process, so you can then put yourself in a better position. Because like you mentioned, there's over 5 million people with 6.5% interest rates, and about 2.5 of those have over 7%. So watch that market, watch what's happening, and feel free to reach out to me, schedule a call with me, and we can definitely go over what options exist. And like we talked about earlier, is if you wait till rates drop and then you want to try to do it then everyone's going to be slammed trying to do it. A little bit easier when you call ahead of time, prep yourself, get everything lined up, so then when markets do shift, you can execute on that as fast as possible. So I know you mentioned you were from North Carolina, so welcome. Grace, good evening. Welcome. Thank you for joining us
Hey, hold on,
today.
Dave. That's
Yeah.
Grace Smith. I was doing a live stream last year, and I said, I'm
Oh, really?
snitching. I'm telling. So Grace Smith, she's like, Dwayne, are you going to be snitching tonight? Yes, Grace, I'm going to be snitching tonight.
That's funny. We got Lady Boss from Chicago. Welcome.
Hey, give me one of those Polishes off of 95th and Dan Ryan. Man, I miss
I
those
think they're
things.
still around, man.
Yeah, they are.
That's awesome. All right, we got this one's for you.
Okay. Before I get to this question, I did find 38 CFR 3.400 general. It's a lot. It talks about DIC, except as otherwise provided, the effective date of an evaluation and award of pension, compensation, or DIC based on an initial claim or supplemental claim will be the date of receipt of the claim or the date entitlement arose. You heard me talk about that earlier, whichever is later. It talks about, disability benefits, disability pension, claims received on or after October 1st, 1984. It talks about disability compensation, direct service connection, presumptive death benefits, death in service, service-connected death after separation from service, non-service connected death after separate. So it's a lot going on in this particular 38 CFR. Which part are you talking about? Because it's a lot, but I did look it up.
Awesome. Oh, is this 100% PNT as of April 8th, 2025? Congrats. Could not have done it without watching your channel.
There it is.
I hear that a lot, Dwayne. People when they reach out, they're like, couldn't have done it, didn't have to spend a penny. And some people help other veterans pass it down by helping them with their VA disability.
Yeah, that's what I say. Use me as a last resort. Even getting in my training and stuff like that, the trainings, different trainings that I have, a lot of times people will email me, they'll call me, and I'm like, hey, and I get, sometimes in the comment section, I'm like, hey, I did a video on that. And they're like, Dwayne, can you share the link? Do you want me to stop answering other veterans' questions, go out and do a search on my channel to find that video, which takes like 2 seconds, but it's something that you can do. So you got to put the time in, people. It's you go, if I want to find a video on your channel, Dave, I just go to VA Housing Education in the top. You have your own search bar, and I type, hey, interest rates. And I'm pretty sure any video that you name that has interest rates in it comes up. And then I just start watching, and if I can't find my answer, then I'm going to schedule a call with you and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the easiest thing to do because you have educating yourself first. Because I don't know, Dwayne, too, when someone watches the video, because they'll come in with like very specific questions, like, "Hey, I watched the video, I understand this, but I'm trying to do this," because then it helps you better understand your situation and what you need to know.
Yeah.
This was
Yeah.
for you
Somebody
as
asked
well.
me, they said, Dwayne, I was watching a video you did 3 years ago. I could probably barely remember what I did 3 weeks ago. But tell me the name of the video, right?
Yeah, this one's for you.
Okay, was denied PTSD, but was given 50% for another stressor-related disorder. I know I have PTSD. I feel she just missed it by not asking the right question. Should I ask for another evaluation? Why? Mental is mental. You go back in for another evaluation, it's going to be considered increase. That 50% has been in effect less than 5 years. If an exam comes back, it shows improvement, they will do a reduction. If it changes the overall percentage. Dave, I see we got 5 minutes left. We do have some
Yeah.
donation questions if you want to get to that. Do you think VA rates? Oh, I'm sorry, that's you.
Yeah, do you think VA rates we're going to drop below 5% anytime soon? I think it's tough to tell because um, they were looking like they were going down last week. They could potentially drop around that. We saw that happen last, I believe, October. So right now, make sure you're watching the market, I would say almost on a daily basis because it's shifting so fast. But again, it can shift like in a matter of hours. So if you're not ready and you didn't submit all your documents prior to this happening, when this event happens, it could only be for a day. And that's what happened last week, where it took a small dip. It was only for the day and then it just climbed back up. So you really have to time this, and that is somewhat hard to do. I think this is
Yeah.
the one you were talking about, right? That's 38
Yeah.
CFR
He said
344.
30
Yep.
off G. That covers correction of military records, where entitlement is established because of the correction, change, or modification of a military record or a discharge of dismissal by a board established, blah, 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 or because of other corrective action component, military, naval, air authority. I'm trying to think if I ever did one of those ratings. I know I did one time where the veteran was able to get that character discharge upgraded within a year of the denial. And I actually did, if memory serves me correct, um, I did go back to the original intent to file. I just followed the instructions on the due to the denial and 365 days from that notification.
Awesome. Hello, I'm currently searching for a first home for me and my family. I'm 100% P&T. Is there any advice you have for someone that's completely brand new to this? And then they ask a follow-up question, what's the average upfront cost for a $250,000 loan? So I would say this, the first step that you want to take is maybe take a look at VA, take a look at my channel, VA Housing Education. Take a look through some of the videos you may have questions on, like some of the top myths, understanding a budget for home ownership, because that's a pretty big one. And then schedule a call because then I can actually walk you through your specific situation. And it's kind of like VA disability in the sense that there's so much information that's out there. And it does
Mhm.
have to be tailored to your specific situation because, if I often hear people like, well, my buddy did this, why can't I
Oh,
do it? Well, you have
woo.
completely different financial situation because no one's telling you like, hey, this is how much I make, how much do you make, how much do you have in your checking account, what's your credit score. You're not having those conversations with your buddies normally. Maybe you might if you're part of a group that does that, but normally you don't do that, so you just don't know their situation. The average cost for a veteran or using the VA home loan on across the country is between 2 and 3% of the purchase price. But just note that typically anybody that, if you work with some of these really large financial institutions, they normally will charge discount points and origination fees to use the VA home loan. So again, that's why I encourage you to reach out to me because at least you'll be able to save in that sense. But 2 to 3% is kind of on average. In some markets right now, you can still ask for a seller credit. We're still seeing them, especially since the market has softened over the last couple of months. and the fluctuation in interest rates, as well as helping people actually become homeowners. So, you can take advantage of that now before the market really does go haywire. Because, I mean, yeah, it's kind of just the best time to be able to do that. So I think we're hitting our mark now at the 60-minute. Is there anything else that's outstanding right now? I know we have some more questions, but make sure that you guys drop any questions you have in this. I will drop a comment in Dwayne's feed, and I know we're doing this on a couple different channels. So make sure you check out our channels on YouTube with Dwayne and mine. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure you like the video. That way we can help everybody that's out there. Dwayne, anything else to add to that?
No, that's it. Just make sure you stay vigilant with your VA compensation claims. Don't give up. Stay in the fight.
Yeah, things are always changing, so always stay on top of it. So we'll catch you guys later. Everyone have a good night.